Hey guys, it's Leon. Just wanted to record a video today giving some context about me and reading. I think sometimes on social media, what we post can give an impression about who we are that is not actually what is true. And I've been posting a lot of videos of reading the Bible, and that might give you the impression that I'm Bible reading wizard. So I just wanted to give some context about me and reading. Um, so growing up, they didn't figure out that I had ADHD until the 11th grade, which meant from when I started school until that point, I had no idea what I was reading in school books. My mind would try to focus on understanding a single sentence. And by the time I got to the next sentence, I wouldn't remember what the first sentence said. And so I just didn't like reading, never spent time reading books. It's never been a pastime of mine. Um, in high school, I had to take one of my free periods to be tutored on reading. I remember going to tutors through most of my educational, like like high school, middle school, like being tutored on how to read because it was so complex to me. And going into college, um, I failed freshman English because that's how uh, bad I am at reading in English. It just doesn't make sense. Accounting, numbers, those things make sense to me. So when I became a Christian in uh 2005, when I was 23, um, a man named Dan Samson shared the message of Jesus with me, and my life was radically transformed. I had no idea that God was real. I had never really thought about it. But when he told me about Jesus, who he was, what he had done for me, and dying for my sins and being risen from the dead, um, something happened where I believed, and my life was literally radically transformed. I had addictions in my life that literally disappeared instantaneously. And because I hadn't spent time researching these things, it was just like, what is going on? Something invisible is changing my life. And so at that moment in 2005, I started. Dan had given me a Bible years before, but I had never opened it. And I started reading the Bible, and it was motivating to me because it was telling me what was happening to me. It was explaining these stories about being born again, and I was seeing what was happening in my life happening in the lives of other people 2000 years ago. And so I remember plowing through the New Testament um, with just excitement. But eventually, once I'd made it through there, um, I just found myself going through seasons of like not being interested in reading the Bible. And so whenever I was uninterested, I just wouldn't read. And that could be for long periods of time. And I remember having this kind of chip on my shoulder of, why did God make it so that getting to know him involves reading a book? I really, I really wish there was some other way. Um, and so I've been a Christian now since 2005, so it's quite a few years. And I've had seasons where I have strong desires to read the Bible, and so I do. And then I have seasons where I don't. and so I don't read. And so these videos that I'm doing right now is a season where I feel specifically called by God to read the scriptures, and I have this corresponding hope that someone is going to hear God's word and their life will be changed in some way. Maybe it's one of you listening through these Facebook posts. Maybe it's one of my kids that finds this channel sometime in the future. I have no idea. All I know is that every day I feel motivated to read his word. I feel like he is illuminating these words so that I almost feel teleported into these stories 2,000 years ago, as though I was there listening to these people speaking as they were speaking. So that's just a little bit of context. I am not a Bible reading wizard. This is something that is God doing something in my life, and just wanted you to know that. So if you're not a reader, if this doesn't come naturally to you, don't feel bad about that. I invite you to just listen. These videos are really short. Like a chapter in the Bible is, sometimes 5 minutes, 7 minutes. And, my hope is that by giving it a chance and listening, that you might actually have an encounter with a God that you didn't know exists in reality, and a God that actually loves you, and that you can experience in a way that's more than just an academic exercise, that you can actually experience feeling loved by a being you cannot see, that you can have this relationship that it's not just reading that is the basis of our relationship with God. It's these words, they tell us who God is. It's actually somehow living in that God is not, he's not stuck in this book. He's not, it's not like I close this book and God's waiting in these pages for me. But this book tells me of a God who lives outside of these pages. And it's through reading that he communicates who he is, and he communicates to us individually, specifically, and it's a very unique thing. There's a lot of mystery, but my hope is that you would be captivated not just by the process of reading, but that you would be captivated by the God who is leading me to read this. And that one day you might be wanting others to meet the God that has captivated your heart. So that's all for today.